r/NoSleep. Posted by Reddit user Mr_Mojo_Risen95. I used to work as a night clerk at a motel. I had to follow a specific set of guidelines to ensure my safety. These are my stories. Part 4. With a growing crowd of wanderers behind me and the flashing of sirens ahead of me, my head was swimming with anxiety. Margot had lived in a small trailer out in the desert, not too far from the motel. Very secluded and very quiet. There were 3 cop cars and an ambulance when I pulled up. The trailer was surrounded by yellow police tape. I pulled up to an officer. He flinched, seeing the desperate fear strewn across my face. "Please, officer, I'm her son. What happened here?" "You're her son? Please, come with me." The officer and I walked towards another squad car. The officer grabbed me by my shoulder, like my father would. Highway 88 was quiet. One of the only times I can recall total silence out here. My mind blocked a lot of the pain that night. Only a few things stood out from our conversation before it hit me like a sucker punch. "Your mother, she has passed, sir," the officer said with a gloomy look on his face. My stomach dropped, knowing what had come. Margot had come so far. A streak of silent lightning crashed across the sky. A cold pellet of water splashed onto my face. How the hell did that happen? I just saw her this morning," I pleaded. That's when I saw them wheeling her out of the trailer, zipped up in a black body bag. 2 paramedics wheeled her over to the ambulance. I darted towards them, huffing and puffing. "Hey, get back!" the officer yelled. I collapsed into the paramedic's arms, heavy the whole time. "Please, let me see her." The 2 paramedics looked at one another, then back at the officer, who just shrugged his shoulders. With tears racing down my face, the paramedics slowly unzipped the body bag. Margot's cheery smile and thick-brimmed glasses were no more. Where her face used to be was nothing more than a melted, searing pile of black dead skin, like someone had taken a blowtorch to her face. Her skin was red and purple as if someone squeezed her limbs tight, cutting off all circulation. She smelt like smoldering roadkill. I threw up my lunch to the side. The paramedic zipped her back up. The officer lightly tapped me on the shoulder. "Please, son, we'll need to ask you a few questions. Can you talk right now?" "No, not right now. I can't. Please," I replied. "That's all right, son. Take the night. We can talk first thing in the morning." With how I was looking at it, there was not going to be another morning. I was prepared to die that night. I wiped the tears from my eyes, got one last look at Margot in the body bag, and headed to my car. The covers of darkness concealing my blood-stained car from the officer. I pressed on the gas, sending a cloud of sand into the air, and peeled off towards the motel. Rain was pouring down as the neon lights of the motel came into view. I reached into my glove box and pulled out a sheathed 9-inch knife I kept with me. When you live in your car for as long as I've had, you need a way to protect yourself. As the motel grew closer, the crowd of wanderers came into view. Motionless, they stood in masses around the motel, completely surrounding it. With rage coursing through my body, I parked the car and headed towards the ghostly crowd with my knife in tow. I came up to the closest wanderer and plunged the knife into his back. He was a tall, wiry man. The knife went deep, sending a trickle of blood racing down his back. The wanderer collapsed onto the floor like a sack of potatoes. On to the next, I thought, feeling my teeth grind against themselves. I stabbed a woman right in the neck. Spurts of blood sprayed across my face. I hacked and slashed wanderer after wanderer, making my way through the crowd towards the main door. They all dropped quicker than I imagined, like they were rag dolls, barely being held up. Their lifeless corpse appeared frozen in time. As I pushed through, a wanderer reached out and grabbed my arm. A sharp, burning sensation pierced into me. I looked up at the man whose eyes were as black as coal. I shoved the knife into his dark eye socket. Blood sprayed into my mouth. I twisted and yanked the knife till he collapsed. My rage was fuming. My heart felt like it was going to beat out of my chest. I tried to ignore the searing pain on my arm, drawing closer to the main door. I pushed aside all wanderers. Another one grabbed me on the leg. The same searing pain radiated through me instantly. I hacked at the woman, slashing her across the face until she buckled. Then, another arm grabbed me, followed by another arm, and then another. They pinned me to the ground. Masses of people held me down. My body felt like it was being stunned by 100 deadly jellyfish. I bit down hard on my tongue, feeling the metallic taste of blood seep down my throat. I hacked furiously at the wanderers holding me down. Like a crazed banshee, I unloaded onto them until I was able to stand back. I limped towards the front door, my body growing numb. I was painted in blood, seeing my crimson body reflected in the glass front door. Standing in front of the door, a woman stood alone. I watched around me, seeing the wanderers circle around us, boxing me in, as if they were waiting for a fight to start. As I walked closer, the woman before me revealed herself to be Margot. I collapsed to my knees before her. She stood motionless as a statue, her eyes as black as the night sky. Her arms seemed to pulsate with each breath. She looked down at me. Nothing human about her cold black eyes. I whimpered, tugging at her dirty yellow dress. "Please, no," I cried. Margot raised her hand and placed it on my face. My face burned like someone planted a hot iron onto me. I smelt the burning of my hair and skin. I pulled back, feeling pieces of my flesh peel off, sticking to Margot's hand. She walked over to me like a robot. I was shrieking in pain, barely able to see. I held a knife out in front of me. As Margot drew closer, I thrusted the knife into her belly. My head was spinning. Margot stood in front of me, blood trickling out of the knife wound. Her shadowy eyes met mine. I slipped the knife up to the handle and started pulling down. Margot came down with each pull I did. Blood surged out of her like a dam opening. The pinks of her intestines spilled out over my hands. I fell backwards, staring up at the constellations as rain poured all over me. Margot fell face forward, landing in a wet slap on the knife as it was thrust into her belly further, puncturing her through her back. Her dead face met mine. A sick smile was drawn across it. I laid there for a while. One by one, wanderers faded into the dark desert. I laid as the cool rain washed the blood over me. I held Margot's hand as night drew on. I don't know when, but at some point, I must have fallen asleep. I awoke to the bright morning sun above me, the hard floor under me. My back ached horribly. I was caked with blood and my skin was scabbed and all torn all over my face. I felt sore all over. I looked to my side where Margot once laid to find her gone. All that remained was the knife I used to kill her, dull and bloody from a long night's work. With Margot gone, a light seemed to blow out from my heart, my already fragile heart, built up by Margot, only to be crushed by whatever the hell inhabited these lands. In the next few weeks, I was able to find answers to some of the motel's problems.